DG360 is brought to you by our supporters who make it possible for me to do what it is that I love to do, stream and be here with our amazing community. Thank you.
All right, we have chat up there, so you guys can give your thoughts on what I'm saying. Feel free to tell me if I'm full of shit or not.
And we have chat down here. Chat, where you at?
On this whole Blade debacle, I have like a
cool.
pretty unique perspective to all of this. I don't think there are any content creators who have my perspective. I actually recorded about...
Where is my chat? Okay, there we go. Jesus, man, making me look bad up in here. What's going on? There you go. There you go. Woo.
6 hours of me talking about it, between like reacting to Salty Mike's videos, reacting to Morphologist's video, reacting to like a couple of people outside of the community who made videos on them. I just want to give my final thoughts. And I talked to Zero State yesterday, and I'm glad I did, because I've now focused on what is most important. I'm going to say some shit that's going to be triggering to some people, but understand that you got to wait till the latter part of the video where I get to like the most important thing, because even though we may disagree on one aspect, it's so unimportant, and there's something I want to shed a light.
Sub is a buddy of mine. Sub has always helped out this channel. He's always sent raids here. I love Sub. Like, I literally feel like Sub is my brother from another mother. Like, literally, him and I are like OGs to Star Citizen. He's got great reviews on ships. This guy knows how to fit a ship. This guy knows how to fly a ship. This guy is a fucking genius. But he has given a lot of preamble right now, so you can tell it's going to be like something dramatic. I'm telling you right now, I literally think he's going to start talking about the Blade thing.
Right on, that is way more important. Right? First off,
Pepe's upstairs grabbing a cerveza.
Should have been something available behind missions, or just a component in the kiosk. They could have given it to us by like having it with Wicklow, with Hathor. There's a million different ways.
This is exactly what my friend Zero said, and that I reposted here on my own X. Like, what Sub is saying is exactly what I reposted here from Zero. A couple, was it last? When was it? I'm pretty sure I put it. Here we go. Right here. And this is exactly what I reposted and liked this, because Zero's dead on it, and Sub is saying the same thing. Sig could have put blades in loot pools and high value salvage wrecks, Wicklow, rare item shops, behind missions, PvP, PvE, reputation rewards, gameplay. Nope, pledge store money. And that's why these low ticket items, they got to stop doing this stuff. It just looks bad, but it's not good. It's not that. Here's the thing. And this, like Montoya said too, like at the end of the day, it doesn't really worry me. I don't think it's like I don't think it's going to end. I don't think that this is going to end Star Citizen. Like, everybody's building it up for those clicks, for the monetization. That's the way I see it. Like, a lot of content creators are really riding this. Oh, this is the end of Star Citizen because they can't stop doing this or getting in their own way. They, constructive criticism. Yeah, they should probably get somebody in marketing and sales to talk with one another to see what should be monetizable and what shouldn't. And at the end of the day, that's as deep as it gets for me. And like Montoya said in one of his videos, don't buy it if you don't like it. Like, just speak with your money, speak with your pocketbooks. They'll figure it out. And look at the revenue. Look at after Invictus where they're at. They're at what, $60 million? We just watched that video. $60 million. Where I thought that might be a year of contraction. I thought that 2025 was going to be like maybe they're not going to, maybe the money's going to pull back a little bit. No, it looks like they're going gangbusters. Numbers, man. Numbers speak volumes.
Ways they could have done it. They didn't do it that way. I am surprised that they screwed this up, but I understand like why they didn't. They sell everything. They have been, right? They sold the Atlas. You guys ranted about that. Now, the reason why I don't care about the Blade, why I don't care about the Atlas, I don't care about any of it, is because the game is pay to win right now. We have a spaceship game, which I want to move so I don't get kicked, where you could buy spaceships with real money. Do you guys really think that somebody who's outside looking in is gonna look at this and say, oh my God, yeah, of course, they might be emotional about it, but that person also, for it to even matter, has to get past the fact that you could buy a fucking ship. And our coping mechanism brain,
it's also very subjective too. Like the perspective here about this pay to win and Star Citizen being pay to win. I mean, let's really bust this down the way I think about this. Do I need to pay anything extra if I'm in an organization where somebody else paid? No. If somebody else paid for an Idris and he's in our organization, did I have to pay to win? Or did just knowing somebody help? Right? And that's the power of organizations. You know, that's the power of people. That's a sandbox. And so like if you go along with this line of thinking, you can start to think to yourself like, okay, there's limited availability of the bigger ships. People are paying for the bigger ships, and those bigger ships are definitely going to put more pain sometimes, depending upon fleet composition. Because all big ships aren't just going to pwn every ship, by the way. Some big ships aren't even designed to handle like a fleet of smaller ships and can go down just easy peasy. So not all big ships are like pwn factories. You know, like that's another thing people got to get out of their brain. So I wouldn't necessarily say like pay to win in the traditional sense of the way that you think about pay to win. I would just say like when you think about this, it's more about like power of numbers. And that's any sandbox game. The true power, the true ownage, the owning in an MMO sandbox is just the power of numbers. How many people? That's why, you know, talk about Goon Swarm was so fucking effective. It was like a Zerg rush, man. It was like a Zergling rush back in the day when I played EVE Online. They didn't even fly great ships, man. They didn't even fit them right. There was just so many fucking of them fucking around being silly, man. They'd come in and they'd pwn you because there'd be so many. It was a numbers game, man. It was a Zergling rush. So, like, at the end of the day, like, the pay-to-win kind of argument, I've seen instances where people had amazing ships that they paid a lot of money for that didn't do jack shit because they couldn't fly them because it was a skill issue. So I'm not really like I'm not buying into this. I love Sub. I love this dude. I really do. He really is an awesome dude. But like I kind of like think like I'm not hopping aboard the pay to win kind of thing right now. That's all I gotta say.
Star Citizen for Life brains were like, well, it's not really pay to win because you could buy it in game. Okay, well, pay to win's got two definitions then. So we got like a mainstream pay to win, and then we got the Star Citizen Cope pay to win. It's pay to win, but also, yeah, you can acquire it in game, and when it really comes down to it, the pilot skill is probably gonna matter. The ship that you have versus what they have is probably what's gonna matter. So for us, it's fine. This is the way the game has been funded, and it's the only way that the game will ever have been able to be funded, and there's no turning back now. So that's why.
And yeah, and like the way he's constructing the narrative right now, Diva's right, is that he's saying this is how someone from the outside normally thinks. Right. I get that, Diva. I get that.
I don't care what they sell in the store.
Right.
Fools are easily departed with their money. If you want to spend the money on the blades so that you don't have to spend the 15 minutes in the verse to get enough money to buy them when it comes out later, do it. If you want to buy it to test it, albeit. If you want to buy it because you're a whale and you're collecting it, I know I'm saying fools are easily departed with their money, but if you're not taking food off your table, you're not a fool then. I don't care. Right now, yes, someone could technically have an advantage over me because they buy it now. I don't have it. I don't care. Because what matters to me is, because we're in an alpha, but game's busted anyway, I'll just wait until I can get it, and then I'll buy it, and then I'll be on the same level. And then
Yep. That is so based. I say that shit all the time. Like, if I can't buy it with real life money, and I don't see the need to buy it with real life money, I'll just buy it in game when it's available. Buy in game. Totally agree with him right there. There's going to be a limited amount of ships, though. I know with the larger ships and the capital ships that purposefully Cloud Imperium and Chris only want to sell a certain amount of them, and they're going to limit the amount of sales on the larger ships. They're going to for a lot of reasons, actually, for balance, and they're gonna get greedy, and they might release like a limited time edition where they're going to release the bigger ships again. And they'll do that because greed will get the best of them. But like overall, the amount of the larger ships will be less. You know, and I get this. Like, I understand what you guys are saying. Like, at first, when I was listening to this, I was thinking that this was his mindset on this and the way he was constructing it. It was directly from his own brain. But what Sub is actually saying is, like, from people on the outside, like Diva mentions, like, from people on the outside of this, they're like, oh, it's pay to win, and it's a bunch of bullshit. It's nice to see that he's constructing this way. So I'm on the same page. I get it.
They would have wasted that money, in my opinion, and all they did was save a little bit of time, and I'm still gonna win anyway because I play the fucking game. All right, I gotta interject this clip in here. I wound up watching this whole video and reacting to it. This person that he's interviewing, which I think is actually a viewer of mine, but
and a viewer of mine. You know who he's talking about, right? This is an old school This is an old school one. What was his name that used to come in here all the time? What the fuck was Sketch? Sketch, yeah, he's still in our Discord. You remember Sketch? Sketch used to hang out in this stream all the fucking time. And you remember when Sketch got too famous for us. Sketch is too good for us now. Sketch is hanging out with Asmin Gold now.
His own accord, like, I didn't even know this, but, and I know what you guys are gonna say. You guys are gonna say that they're talking about a $48,000 Legatus package or whatever. I understand that. It doesn't matter. The mentality still applies. It doesn't matter how much it is, unless it's like super cheap, like a dollar or something. But it doesn't matter. Listen.
Now that, like, so how do you feel about like these really expensive purchases, like things like the $48,000 pack? Like, as somebody,
if you got $48,000, why am I worried about you?
Well, wouldn't that person have an advantage over you?
No.
Well, then why would they spend the money?
Because I have all those same ships, but I didn't have to spend $48,000.
This is a fucking issue. This is an issue where Asmin Gold grew up in the World of Warcraft pay to win bullshit. Asmin Gold thinks every fucking game is like WoW. He thinks that everything's a Blizzard construct. Like when he starts, like when Asmin Gold goes on a gaming tangent, everything he's basing his experience off of Blizzard. So, you know, I get why Asmin Gold does that and thinks that way, because he's grown up in Blizzard. And Blizzard is notorious scumbags. Like, they do some scumbag shit. And I can understand why they do that, and that's why he thinks that way, man. I do.
I don't know about that. I feel like if people are going to be spending this much amount of money, there's got to be something that they're getting out of it, whether that's saved time or money. Like at the end of the day, like, all right, let's reframe the question. Let me ask a simple question. If you have two players that are going up against each other, one player has spent $10,000, the other player has not. All other things being equal, who has the advantage?
Well, what's the goal? What is the win condition? It's G.
Yeah, Sketch is right on this. You know, sometimes, man, Sketch was my little special snowflake, and I'd just look at him. I'm like, what are you fucking talking about? Sketch would like say some shit in the chat. You know what I'm talking about, guys. Sketch would say some crazy shit in the chat sometimes, and sometimes I have to moderate him, or one of my mods would come down and be like, Sketch, what the fuck, dude? There was a lot of times that Sketch was our special little snowflake, man. But like, he spoke a lot of sense in this interview with Asmin.
TA. I mean, I don't have to. We're not competing. You have your 10,000. Maybe you have a really high-paying job. You don't have the time to grind, so you just pay. It's your money. Who am I to judge? Right? You're not going to fly better than me. You're not going to beat me in a dogfight.
So you
because I have more time to practice. So I'll just stomp you.
Sketch.
I mean, I can't argue with that logic. I can't. I mean, there are.
That still makes me laugh, man. That's like the second or third time I've watched this shit. That still makes me laugh.
Few things I could say, but I think that makes a lot of sense. That's fucking funny, man.
So that's the idea, and no one's saying this on Spectrum, right? Because you guys are.
But the other thing too is it's really a numbers game. Like the other thing that they need to delve into here, and maybe Sub will get into this a little bit. But in a sandbox, it's always been about the amount of people that you got together as a group of players and how you construct it, fleet composition, how well the pilots fly, and going after a goal. Like, what is the goal? Sketch is right. Sketch is right. What is the goal? Like, what is it that you're trying to do? Why would you one-on-one somebody in a $10,000 ship if you're flying a fucking Aurora? You know what I'm saying? There's no, what is the goal? You know what I mean? Like, that was brilliant. Sketch, sometimes he had his moments where he shined like a diamond. You know what I'm saying? Shine like a diamond.
Out there raging, and we all know that we don't like this, so we're never going to say anything. There's a lot of people who don't give a fuck about this and just are like, okay, whatever, let's move on. You already knew they were going to sell the shit, right? We disagree there, but it doesn't matter, because my point of not caring is because we're in an alpha, and what I care about is what it's going to look like when we're not in an alpha anymore.
God damn yes.
Yes, sir. You're not gonna hate me.
This is why this man is a brother from another mother. This is like, we grew up in the old school. Like, Sub and I, we are OGs. We came to this space. We understand the vision. We know where it's going. And this is always why when you hear people who take every little thing that happens in the project and they want to bend it towards their own clickety-clack monetization bullshit, negative kind of drama shit, they aren't people that are dreamers. They aren't people who understand the entire vision. The people that approach this with only worrying about views and monetization and you clicking on them are sensationalizing the title. They're sensationalizing the thumbnail. They're sensationalizing the content when they speak. They're doing all the things they need to do to become a successful influencer on YouTube, which essentially is trash. It's trash journalism, it's trash content creation, and I hate it. And it's predominant because YouTube promotes and supports that. The algorithm literally vomits it out because they know that's how they get paid. That's how they pay their shareholders. That's how Google pays their shareholders. That's what gets the most clicks, the most views, the most attention. The sky is falling, all that shit. The people that need more love are the people like Sub, the people that are taking things constructively and they're based, and they're looking at the macro, and they take a step back and they're taking a breath. This is why I love Sub. OG from the very beginning. He was one of the first, along with me, that started covering Star Citizen.
More. It's like, it's a fucking alpha, man. Let people back the game however they want. Let them sell whatever they want. But when 1.0 comes out, all of this has to stop. I don't know where you guys are comfortable with funding, but I'm comfortable with a premium subscription that's anywhere between $10 and $20 a month. We have, like what we have now. They're gonna need to give us some sort of a convenience with it, as well as maybe new cosmetics or whatever. They're gonna need to revamp that whole Centurion and Imperator system. That needs to be able to fund the game. And of course they could sell other stuff too, like cosmetics, like straight up that people can just buy. Editor Subliminal has to step in again because of my ADHD. I've switched from talking about what they can do to fund the game via a monthly subscription, and now I've switched to how they can maybe add value to like a pack. I guess technically they could also add what I'm about to talk about as a part of the monthly subscription deal too. It could work, but my brain shifted. Sorry. But there also has to be some sort of a convenience. And a good example of convenience would be Tarkov's butthole. Tarkov.
I'm not quite sure if Sub is talking about the subscription model that we currently have now, or a subscription pay model where you have to pay a monthly subscription fee to play the game. I'm not quite sure what he's talking about right here. If it's a pay model, like a monthly subscription pay model to play the finished game, I don't think they're going to be very successful with that. There's not a lot of models that ever have worked like that, except maybe EVE Online. You know, look what happened to Dual Universe when they fucking put their pay model out as a subscription-based service, man. Boof. Goodbye, people. So I don't think that's the most successful way to go about it. I frankly, and I've stuck with this thesis from the very beginning, I still think they're going to sell ships. Even though Chris said that they're not going to sell ships after it gets to 1.0, like finished format, I think they're still going to sell ships. That's the bread and butter right there. That's 80% of the revenues. 85% of the revenues are ship sales. That's a big fucking cut if they stop selling ships. You know they're going to still sell ships. They have nothing to substitute all that revenue. What are they going to substitute? There's no way there's no way they can exist if they don't sell ships after the game's released. Squadron 42, yeah, there's going to be some money coming in from Squadron 42, especially if it's super successful, Mad Style, but I will guarantee that, like, I would say 30 to 40% of people already paid for Squadron 42. I say 35, 40. Some guy last week we watched said that like 80 to 90% of people already had it. I kind of disagree with that for sure. I think there's still a really large market for people that don't even know what this game is yet. I still think there's a really large market out there that don't even understand what this game yet. And Squadron 42 has a very wide addressable market. So I think personally that in terms of now, currently, I think 35% of people, 40% of people, you know, in the current addressable market have the game of Squadron 42. It won't just be Squadron 42 that will replace ship sales. They have to figure out something that can substitute ship sales, or just have to land back and do ship sales. I think still to this day, I think they're going to do ship sales. There's nothing to replace that revenue once it's gone. There really isn't. I don't see how it'd be sustainable in terms of keeping all. Perhaps they'll retract. Perhaps they'll take away some of their offices. Perhaps they'll cut down their expenses at that time when it gets to the point of that, and they won't need the same amount of people, and they can cut the expenses. But they're still going to have revenue coming in, solid line base core revenues, and that only comes through ship sales, really.
I'm sorry if you don't play Tarkov and you're like, what are they selling? Tarkov has as you guys probably all know, you can go in, you loot cargo, and then you leave with what you take out. But if you die, you lose everything, including what you brought in, except for what's in your butthole or like your gamma case, right? So it's a certain amount of like SCU space, if we want to talk in Star System terms, that you can go in, you can pick up a gold watch, a gold statue or something, you throw it in your butthole, and then you know that you're
like what? I'm just curious, Diva. Like, I really am curious. Like, what are other ideas to substitute in lieu of ship sales? I really actually am very curious what you think, Diva, on that. I like Mad Style approaching this from the Squadron 42 angle, but I don't think that'll make up long term for what they would need. Maybe they can sell the engine. You know, maybe they can get a lot of revenue selling the engine. That's a possibility. That would bring in some serious bucks. Yeah, aha, Diva. I knew you were going there, Diva. I knew you were going there. So yeah, they could sell Rise of Star Engine. They could bring in some serious money that way. That would be nice. That would be big boy money. I mean, that would be serious money, actually. Like selling the rights for Star Engine after this game could become super successful and they've mastered server mesh dynamic. Yeah, I mean, when they get this to that point, yeah, then Star Engine will be very valuable, and the rights to actually use it will also be up there in premium. They'll make a big premium from that. So, you know, but I think it will replace ship sales? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. 60 million they've brought in since May. At the beginning of this year, 60 million. I don't know if Star Engine alone would replace that. I don't know.
You're gonna leave with at least that. Even if you die, if you get lucky and you come across some good stuff, you can have a net positive overall. Maybe you might find something that's worth more than all the gear you brought in. That type of funding, to me, can be considered pay to win. You're definitely paying for convenience, in my opinion. And it's something that says, hey, if you're serious about this game, this is how much we want you to pay. If you're not, there needs to be a free option. I don't think Tarkov has a free option, but Tarkov has a...
Well, listen, I love Sub. I get where he's coming along with this one. Maybe we'll save the rest of this for tomorrow. But Sub is a really cool dude. And he's got a great head on his shoulders. And the guy looks way far out. And he looks at the macro, you know. And I really dig his perspective. Because not just because it mirrors mine, but just because I can tell he's very rational about the way he approaches this project. And if you want this to be linked here, let me link this for everybody because I do want to watch the rest of this. But I have another stream coming up here for my Dungeons and Dragons crew. And I just gotta say, like, I appreciate people that approach the project like this, really take their time to think about all the angles. You know, they're not just going after the sensationalist headlines and the click and the monetization. And I really respect Sub for that. I really do. He's one of the real ones,